All right, welcome to the Great Minds Podcast. This is Derrick.
This is Vaughn.
And we're here with Tyla Abercrumbie. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you.
Good. Pleasure
Thanks for
having
joining
you.
us.
Yes,
Thanks
thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
So a brief introduction about Tyla. She's a talented film and theater actress, writer, director, and you may know her as Nina from The Chi. So welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Good.
Oh,
So we got you right in time. They found Keisha, so we're happy about that.
Exactly.
We didn't have to add that into the mix today. So, Tyla, just for the people that don't know you, can you just give us a brief background, your upbringing, anything you want to add?
Yes, I am a Chicago native. So I grew up here in Chicago on the west side of the city in an area called the Austin community. I moved really quickly. As soon as I graduated high school, I moved up north. I went to Columbia for college here, and then I lived in Los Angeles for about 5 or 6 years, and made my way back to Chicago by way of a couple of different other places, and around 2005, and I've been here ever since. And I am, of course, part of the theater community here, the arts community here, you know, creating, writing, directing, acting, all of that good stuff.
Nice.
Okay, great. I was going to ask you, how did you get started in acting? Like how'd that go?
Well, you know what? That's a great question because I started later. A lot of people, you know, do acting when they're in high school. And my high school has a drama department, but I grew up financially poor. And so the idea of being an actor was like, whatever. And my first love was always writing. So I love creating. And that too seemed like, you better get a job. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't get the courage to start pursuing it until I got to college, and it was like, okay, since I got to pay for it, I may as well do what I want, because who knows if I will ever pay it off.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
So that was really it. And I had initially went to Roosevelt University here, but they had their actors like cleaning up after their grad students. And I was like, no, I'm not on stage. I don't know what y'all talking about. So I left and went to Columbia.
Okay.
Wow, that was a nice backup gig, Columbia.
Well, you know what?
For real.
The thing is, Columbia let you get on stage right away. Now, it's an okay program, but
Okay.
Of the programs I really wanted to go to, because I thought if you were going to go to school for acting, you may as well hit the best ones, right? The one where, because it doesn't matter about your degree with acting, but you want an alumni that makes people go, oh, you know, you went to my alma mater. And so they weren't the top on my list, but they were the easiest to get into, and I could get on stage. So I had small criteria.
All right, you could still flex with that Columbia name for sure.
Definitely.
Exactly. Right.
Who's someone when you finally decided you wanted to get into acting, who's someone you like looked up to? You know,
I love classic films, first of all. It was like a bonding thing that I had with my mother, because she worked as a DJ at a lounge, you know, so she didn't get into like 2 a.m. or whatever. And I would wait up for her because I was scared of the dark. So I grew up watching classics, and my favorite love story of all time is Claudine.
Okay.
Diane Carroll was like, she was beautiful. She was from, you know, in that movie From the Hood. And she still had class about her, which is what my mother always emphasized. I loved Sidney Poitier because I fell in love with The Raisin in the Sun, the play, the book, when I was a kid. My sister introduced me to that. So once I saw it was a movie, I was just like, oh, Sidney Poitier. You know what I mean? Like, he was just beautiful. And then, of course, I like people like right now, like, of course, Viola Davis, but she wasn't around when I was coming up. So I was looking at Betty Davis and Barbara Stanwyck from the classics.
Yep.
And Cecily Tyson, you know, we grew up with all them Cecily Tyson movies, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so those were really people I just was like, they're so strong.
Okay.
You know?
I was definitely going to, later on in the interview, I was going to talk to you about, like, how do you see the progression you know, in film and in television or in general for minorities. But what was the first play that you actually did growing up?
Growing up, let's see, the first play, gosh, Jesus. The first play I actually did was a play written by it was a play it was written by a good friend of mine now over at ETA Theater, which is a small community theater on the south side of Chicago. And it was just like, it was called Kasimu and the Coconut Palm. So it was for children. And I loved it. It was just great working on stage with kids. But that was it. ETA Creative Art Foundation on the south side of Chicago.
Okay, shout them out.
All right. So, all right. So we know that film and theater are two separate entities, pretty much. How do you approach each one differently?
Another great question, because I learned a great deal working on the Chi this season. So with theater, you know, the process it's all live. It's all right there. It's happening in the moment. The rehearsal process is really intense. So you're constantly coming in 6 days a week, several hours a day, working on this material, dissecting the material, pulling the layers off. And then you have a live audience once you perform. So they're right there with you. And if you mess up, then you just like, oh, well, you know, keep swimming, you know, keep swimming till you sink. And then with television and film, it's also the relationship with the camera. You know what I'm saying? It shoots out of sequence. And in a situation like the Chi, you don't know the ending, right? So in a play, I read the whole play. I know the beginning to the end. And then you got to forget it all. Well, with something like the Chi, you don't necessarily know what's coming for the rest of the season. You know, we don't get those scripts in advance. Oh, okay. So it was interesting to learn how to, one, tune out all the moving parts that are working while you're trying to get all heavy, because you see in Nina is crazy emotional this season.
Definitely.
And so you got to tune out all of this stuff. You're shooting out a sequence, so you got to figure out how to be crying over my daughter that I think is laying in the bushes that I haven't even seen yet. You know what I mean?
So and I'm sorry, on that scene, there was a chance you thought it was her?
There was the chance that I thought it was her. Everything informed me that it was. You know, I got a call saying they found a body. She was a young girl. She was Black. And so as a mother, you're like, that's my daughter. Mm-hmm. And the idea that it could be is what you have to accept, even though you hope that you're totally wrong. Right?
Yeah, worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm. Worst case scenario. So yeah, I had to believe it was her.
Wow. And you know, the one that I can say, because we both love the Chi, and when I first, from season 1 and going on, I knew automatically, I had a feeling that you were a theater actress.
Really?
And the reason why I say that is because when you're a theater actress, you kind of have a way of, I've noticed, of taking over, commanding a scene and taking it over in a different way than a non-theater artist. I don't want to say, you know, better or worse, but you can just tell the difference. Yeah. So you really can tell it this season too. So watching it, and I'm like, yeah, it's the theater. Because when you go back to that, you have, like, again, you have your audience, and you're one time to get your feelings and convey that across. Mm-hmm. And we'll work it out tomorrow. So you do a great job of that. So I knew that you had that background before I did my research.
Thank you. Thank you. No, and you know what? Some of my favorite artists are from the theater, and that's what I liked. I felt like, wow, I want to be able to be that honest and still just jump right into the audience member, right? So that they feel me as if they know me. So I really appreciate that. That's a tremendous compliment to me. Thank you.
Definitely, no problem.
All right, so on the Chi, what was the process of you? Well, one, wanting to audition for it, and two, what was the process? How many times you have to come in? And my third question is, did you initially audition for Nina?
Okay, so my process was merely they came to town. So apparently the Chi shot a pilot that I guess maybe sold the idea. Mm-hmm. And then they came back and decided to redo all of what they did in the pilot. So that was my opportunity to audition. I think I auditioned for that first round, but I don't know that. I don't remember it. I feel I'm one of the fortunate actors in the city that auditions several times a week. And so you don't go registering all of it. I don't anyway. As soon as I get that shit out my head. Oops, I'm sorry. Can you swear?
So,
You're good.
Yeah, you good.
As soon as I get that stuff out my head, it's gone. So when I got the call to come in and audition for The Chi, I didn't really know what it was about. I just knew that it was a TV series that was new in Chicago, written by Lena Waithe. I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. And I went in and auditioned for Nina. I didn't audition for any other character. And I only went in for the audition, and I didn't have a callback. I don't remember a callback. I went in for this is what it was. I went in for the casting directors, and then I went in for the actual producer, and so that was when I got cast. So I did have two.
Okay. Well, they definitely got that right.
Thank you.
Definitely, because just the whole cast ensemble is just so great. From day one, I looked at the cast and saying they just a really great cast. And how much interaction do you have with other cast members besides, we'll talk about your kids on the show later, but in general?
Well, the first and second season, I barely had any interaction with anyone except for Kevin and Keisha. Mm-hmm. That was pretty much it, and whoever else came on board for the day players or other guest stars, because my role was just about the family. This season, which is really great, since I'm in 9 of the 10 episodes, I had the opportunity to mix and mingle with several of the cast members. I'm closest to Burgundy Baker, who plays my daughter. Yep. I talk to her all the time, and even if we're not in the scene together, we see each other, on in passing. We talk, and of course the kids, Kevin. So, and then this season, because Miriam came on board, I had the most interaction with her. But this particular season, I had the opportunity to at least meet, see, talk to, and mingle with just about everybody, except for Lena Waithe. And let me see. I think that's pretty much it.
Well, I wanted to add on that too as well. With your character, what Nina's doing this season, and the way that you embody that as it's really family. And I don't want to ruin anything for anybody that hasn't seen some of the episodes, So we got to put that in our description about not disclosing what's happening in the show, because we don't know people behind, right?
Right.
But I like your relationship that you have with Dre, and what you have with the kids. And it basically brings a dynamic to where, it's the same sex relationship, but it's not even about that. You don't even see that, honestly. You don't see that. You just see a family that loves their kids. And then you have a step parent coming in, and how the kids are going to accept that. That happens all the time.
Yeah, that's a real dynamic that many people can relate to for sure.
Exactly. I agree with you. I'm glad you said that, because I've had those kinds of questions like, how does it feel being in a same-sex relationship? And, honestly, when I did audition for the role, when I read the script, I was excited by the idea of playing this woman that had so many layers, right? That she was not the typical same-sex couple is well-to-do, one's black, one's white, they've got their brown child, and, they just make up this, image. But rarely do you just see a family in the neighborhood, right? And and I agree with you. It is not about the fact that we are a same-sex couple. It's just about us being a family unit and trying to raise these two kids, and the complications that comes when a step parent shows up and they wanna be there like they've been there, and the kids have resistance, and you even within our dynamic, it's like, okay, now I got to get used to you talking to my kids a certain way, you know what I mean? And respecting it, so we have a united front, that kind of thing. So I was glad, I was excited about that.
Well, Nina doesn't play. So she doesn't play. Yeah. We know that. She don't play at all.
That's what I was gonna say. How do you, outside of doing these lines, how do you build that rapport with Kevin and Keisha, so that you feel like they're a real mom? Because that's the feel I get. no nonsense mom, and she's gonna do what she needs to do because she knows in the long run that's gonna keep her kids out of trouble.
Exactly.
How do you get that rapport with them? I know Kevin's a little younger, and Keisha's a little older than him, but like, how do you get that rapport going with them?
You know, I feel really fortunate because it just happens so naturally. And I know that Burgundy is not a 16, 8, well, I've known her since she was supposed to be 16 to 18-year-old young lady. She is a grown woman with a child of her own. Kevin is actually a young teenager. So, but it became very natural because they were easy to connect with. That was one. And then the second part was like, I just naturally felt like I need to be, you know, I guess somehow knowing that I was their mother gave me a nurturing kind of energy over them, you know. And I remember one scene Kevin and I were doing, and I was angry with him, and he just froze. And so after they cut, because he froze, he said, "You really scared me."
That's acting.
That's
you
acting
know what?
right there.
Back to what Vaughn was saying. That's that theater passion, which is a little bit different than film acting, I think, anyway.
Yeah.
How did you put yourself in the headspace to even play Nina? Because outside of Keisha this season, being trapped and, you know, dealing with whatever she was dealing with, like, how I think you have the next toughest role as far as like putting yourself in that headspace. Because as a parent, you want to be able to protect your child.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No, I was gonna say, how did you put yourself in that headspace to even do that?
You know, I being a theater person, research is everything for me. I don't feel like I have a full character unless I have really researched what I'm going to be talking about, so that I'm reacting not just from the page, the work they put on the paper, but what I know to be facts in this world.
Right.
And so there are a lot of kind of unanswered questions, even on the paper for me, for Nina. So I had to figure some things out. And one of the tragic truths about this season is that while we were shooting in Chicago, there was a person of interest that they were looking at as a serial killer, snatching up little brown girls. Now, it went from ages like 16 to 58, and of the 52, 12 were found deceased. But it had just been declared that it was potentially a serial killer, right? And I was really traumatized personally by the fact that this was literally happening while we were shooting. You know what I'm saying? And that awareness only helps fuel what I'm dealing with. So if you look at it like, if I take that information in with Nina, I'm saying to myself, is my daughter one of these 52? You know what I'm saying? I am in Chicago. It's happening in Chicago. And true enough, in the factual case, they're usually drug addicted, prostitutes, or runaways. But who cares? Who cares? Somebody might have thought my daughter was that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it was very easy to connect the reality of Chicago and what was going on to the fiction of what was written, and then be very moved by it. You know, one of my favorite lines is when I say no. Miriam says, or Dre says, you know, basically she's glad it's not Keisha, and I say, yeah, but it's somebody's
child. Yep.
Right. So that line was totally fueled for me by all of those 52. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
So I was thinking, I think you stated earlier that when you get the script, you don't know what's happening at the end.
Right.
You know, so when do you start finding out like what's going on? So like, I know the day you're shooting, you know, episodes are being filmed or being compiled or put together. Do you start to figure it out? Like, okay, this is what's happening, or are you still kind of on edge until shoot?
Well, in some cases, we're very much like the fans, right? So in that, if you find yourself getting ahead of the story, we're probably getting ahead of the story too. You know what I mean? Okay. Because we're reading like, what I do think is great is that I love listening to the suspicion about Dre, because we too got the scripts and was like, something not right about Dre.
he was saying that,
and I'm like,
I said, nah, she good. Don't worry about it. She good.
You know what for me? And the season's still not over, so I'm gonna just hold to my truth. I just thought like she was overdoing it in a sense, not her acting.
No, I know
but
what you
like
mean.
I'm just like she's going really hard. Where did she come from?
Right.
Why is she going so hard? I don't know. Something was fishy. It's still a little fishy to me, but I guess we'll wait it out.
We'll wait it out. But what I want to say is that, but that's not unlike us when we're working. So we get the script. So
Right.
usually it's the shoot week, right, happens.
Mm-hmm.
So we will read the second script, the next script, the following script, usually on the Friday coming. So Monday through Wednesday, we don't get it. And then Thursday, you might get it in advance so that you're prepared to do the read-through on during lunch or right after lunch at 1 o'clock on Friday. So you really we just have about a day ahead of the actual script. Then we read it, we do a read-through it around the table, and it starts shooting either that following Monday, or it might, if we're ending an episode, it'll pick up right after we end.
Gotcha.
So we don't find out too far in advance, but I have to say we're just like you all. Like, I don't know what this means, or I'm not feeling that. You know, we be coming up with our own stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, definitely. So the one thing I liked about the shot from the story, it seemed like that a lot of the actors were from Chicago, as you stated yourself. So I'm not sure how that's progressed throughout the couple of seasons that's been going on. So right now, how many actors are actually from Chicago that are in season 3, I should say?
Well, the way that, from the Chicago pool of actors, this is how we look at it. So a lot of times, unfortunately, LA comes to Chicago with their leads, right? So the leads are already in place, and we come in getting guest star roles and day players and support roles or co-star roles. Okay. So they came to Chicago initially in season 1. Pretty much everyone, all of the adults, were from Los Angeles, with the exception of Miss Ethel. Okay. And then as the kids, we had Michael Epps, who plays Jake, and Shaman, who plays Papa.
All right.
Those are both Chicago actors. So they started in season, and Bart Fitzpatrick, who was Reggie.
Yeah, Reggie, yep.
But Bart didn't start out as a season regular. He started out as a guest star. And everyone loved his character so much that, of course, they were smart too and was like, we got to bump this dude up.
Yeah, he's hysterical.
He's hysterical.
Right. Great. So then by season 2, he was one of the main cast. So, but overall, the main people are generally coming from Los Angeles. This season, we have you have Tracy, who's Ty Davis. She's from Chicago. Myself. Again, Shaman, Jake, who else? Miss Ethel, and a lot of the support roles are still Chicagoans, which is nice because even the other night when I watched the episode, I didn't know some of my friends were on the episode, and I was like, check that out! You didn't even tell me you were going to be in episode 7. So most of the support and co-stars come from Chicago.
And I think that's really how it should be throughout the industry. If you're going to a certain city, I don't care if it's New York, Chicago, wherever you're going, I think you should always look for that local talent or talent in the city to put on in some type of way. Because that's kind of you giving back to the city, saying, okay, you might have a couple of leads that are coming from whatever that you handpick, but other people, and it's also great, like Reg's character, when you can be a guest star and all of a sudden you're a main fixture. Right. that shows that you were acting. You were doing some acting.
Yeah. And I'll just say, just from my own personal, I'm an actor advocate, and I just feel like there are instances, and this is something that I would say at any point, there are instances where LA should just come here and pick from our pool as the series regulars and not just guest stars. I should say not just guest stars, because I'm a recurring guest star. But again, I'm in 9 of 10 episodes. So you want that series regular status.
You're a star to us. Don't worry about that.
For sure.
I'm a guest star. You're a star.
Thank you. So I do think there are times, this is just business energy, not the shy. This is just overall in the industry. Yeah. when they hit, because we are the third largest theater community, right? So you've got New York, London, and Chicago. That's the theater community. Yep. So when you get here, you're getting strong, powerful actors, of which you guys are all falling in love with. These co-star and supporting characters as much as the leads or the series regulars. So it's important, I think, that we try somehow in Chicago to break that habit. You know, come through the door and give series regular roles as well as guest star roles. You know,
Gotcha.
Especially it's called the Chi or whatever it's called. You want Chicago flavor. You need that. You need that flavor from wherever area it is. It's hard when sometimes people do it well. You know, because they go in there and they learn. They'll sit there and you know mimic and have someone study that they'll just hang out with for a couple of months to get the whole lingo.
Yeah, that takes a while though.
Takes a while. But someone that already has it, they know, hey, don't wear that. We don't wear that. We don't talk like that.
Well, that was Reggie. Reggie had that. Reggie knew. He knew the Chicago vibe. He knew the Chicago energy. Rolando Boyce. I forgot Rolando. Darnell.
Yeah.
Darnell. Chicago guy. Yeah. He is seriously Chicago. And the things he does, you're just like, you know it. You know his rhythm. You know he's been around those people.
He got that earpiece in.
He got that earpiece.
Oh, my God.
That thing locked in. I hope you take it off after y'all stop filming.
He does. He takes it off immediately. But sadly, there are brothers walking around at every event with an earpiece in their ear. Whew. Like they are super important.
stuck in 2002.
Right. So yeah, go ahead.
So what's I was having a conversation with a friend with the whole Emmett and Sonny situation. What do you think about what happened there? I think Emmett was dead wrong.
Totally.
Oh yeah, I mean, as much as you love Jacob Lattimore, you know,
he's great.
He's just very charismatic and he's a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
You want him to win, but what he did to Sonny is just wrong. You can't take some. It hurts to give that much of yourself to somebody to try to help them come up.
Right.
And they're just willing to deceive you at every turn
for
themselves, for selfish reasons, right? And so I felt like I really liked that moment when Cedric Young, who's also a Chicago guy, Sonny, got at him. And I really love when he said, "You think I didn't know what you was doing?" Like,
he's an OG. He knows what time it is.
Oh, you live in the hood. You know somebody went back and was like, "Yo, son, what you doing open at midnight? I thought you closed at 10 o'clock."
Yeah, exactly.
So I thought it was right on point. I like that.
Well, then he did him dirty last week too.
Yeah.
Right.
See, and that's the thing that's crazy because we're not gonna spoil for everybody. We don't know the end, but we know the way he's moving, nothing's good gonna come out of that.
Not at all.
It shouldn't. Let's let us say this. And here we go. Here we go doing what we do and y'all do. I'm with you on that. If what his character is building up to, you're right. Nothing. I mean, he can't be loyal to his woman. He can't be loyal to this man who's helping him out. Yep. Where is his loyalty? You know what I'm saying? And it's only so much you can blame Darnell for. Some of this stuff you gotta like, hey, dude, take some ownership.
Right.
And his mama there trying to do something for him.
He should listen to Darnell when he said you better agree to scout. He said,
that was classic.
That was funny. Wasn't it that night I text Rolando like, no, you did not say grease the scalp.
That was the funniest thing I've heard on TV. Seriously, I'm like, in that context, I'm like, wait a minute, did he say grease the scalp?
He sure did. I couldn't believe it. And I said what's so sad about that is I laugh because you have definitely asked somebody if you wear braids or your hair, you're like, could you please put this oil on my scalp or could you?
I need to stop itching.
Help me take my braids down. You know what I'm saying? So I just thought it was a perfect moment. Absolutely perfect.
So do they give you guys like I can't imagine that was written in the script. Do they give you some wiggle room to do stuff like that?
This season, they did give us a little wiggle room. So we've gone through phases. Like, so in the beginning, there was a little wiggle room in season 1 because we had a whole different type of set of writers. Quite a few of them were white. And so they didn't know the lingo. They didn't know the movement. And so they needed that. They needed that to the contributing so that we could really bring, especially the Chicagoans could really bring Chicago.
Right.
2, that got cut. It was just like, nope. Stay with the script. I don't care if it's a the or is or was. Say it, right? And now we're in 3. If you feel honestly like this isn't sitting, this I can't even say this right. This isn't how this is not how Black mamas say this kind of shit, you know. And then they at least will listen, and either hopefully they'll change it or edit it, or they will. It's rare that they force you to stick with something that you just honestly feel like this just isn't coming out right.
But that's good.
That's good. Yeah. And actually seeing that way, because I kind of can see the progression from 1 to now, right? So as you stated, you better say better say is, right? So people were acting, but they were kind of like had handcuffs on. This season, you see the characters. I don't care if it's Papa. I don't care if it's I don't know his girlfriend's name. Aisha, and the stuff that their interaction. Kevin, the way he's acting, his character. Keisha, how she's acting. You can tell people are kind of like are comfortable. So they kind of
feel
like
more free.
They feel more free, and they're kind of doing their thing as they feel.
And the scripts are strong though. The scripts have I would say like 95% of it is there. And then there's just something that's just not sitting right with you, and you're just like, I don't feel that right. That's not coming out right. Especially, I felt that a lot when with Kevin, because Kevin's coming up. You know, he's getting a little. We won't spoil anything, but he's growing up, and so when young men and young ladies grow up, they get a different language with you, you know, as their parent.
Right.
And so I think some of the things I had to respond to, I was like, no, that needed a little more on it. So they were definitely a little wiggle room was there.
Yeah.
Well, when Kevin was looking for Keisha and the dude pulled the gun on him and he didn't flinch, I knew he was changing. Like right there, you could tell.
Right? He got mad courage now. He's just and you know, I think that's great. I love how I love the kids, period.
Yeah, I think we all do.
I think the representation of how they're each so different, and yet they're such a tight group, is so beautifully put together. Now that has been solid, I feel, since season 1. That connection of those young people, and they do such a great job. And they're funny, aren't they? Funny. I just love
all of them are, especially Papa, because you got Papa that's like, you know, the church kid, but he's getting a little older. He's trying to figure out why his dad's doing some suspect stuff.
Yeah.
And then you got Kev, I feel like that's kind of in the middle.
Yep.
And then Jake's just kind of out there because he doesn't really have the guy. Well, he's living with Duda now, but he's even starting to fill him out a little bit.
Yeah, because and that's the thing. He's living with Duda, but he's still nobody's helping him be a good young man. He's learning how to be a man from hard people, right? Yep. So that's why he had, you know, I look at him when he's talking about Kevin's new girl, well, her name is Judea, and when he looks, you know, he has a hardcore way about him, and he's still a young guy, although he's street smart, which say Papa's not street smart, and Kevin's street courageous.
Which is not always good.
Not always good.
That boy, he on the wrong spot.
Jake would know to like, let's walk away. Kevin's standing there like, I ain't scared of you. It's like, and Papa is like, well, I am.
I am scared.
Right. So I think I just love the way they're set up, and the young ladies too. I do.
Definitely. Too. You know what? I hate to even compare shows, but when I look at The Chi and I look at the kids on The Chi, it reminds me of the kids on The Wire.
Yeah.
Like that last season, towards that last season, and how they all were different.
Yeah.
But I always thought that good acting from kids can go a long way on a show. Like go a long way. And like, I think how these kids are acting, you know, just phenomenal. It's great to know that 2 are from Chicago. I mean, the kids are all great, but it's still homegrown talent.
Yeah. I mean, Maisha is Chicago. That's the young girl.
Yep.
And Shaman and Jake are young people from Chicago. And I just saw Michael Epps at a protest, and he is so tall. I mean, he's the youngest of the 3 boys, but he's the tallest, you know. Which always happens too, right? In life, you know, all of a sudden it's like we can't push him around no more. He's the tallest. So yeah, they are doing a really great job, and I felt the same way about the. I don't like you said that it's not like you hate to compare it to The Wire, but when you see something similar, you go, that reminds me of that, you know.
Right.
So
Exactly.
I agree with that 100%. Yeah.
And to go back to Jake, like Jake is out on the street, but Jake's really not tough. He's really not like, he's kind of like the facade. Everyone around him is tough. You know, his brother was tough. Doodah, but when Doodah was fighting the guy, I want to ruin it. But when he was doing what he was doing with the guy and Jake saw it, he ran. He was scared. So that shows you he's a kid. He doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to be.
He doesn't want that life for himself. Like he would. I go back to like the first episode remember when they were at the school and he wanted to go to the play, but he was trying to be all tough and everything.
Yep.
And then Reg ended up taking him, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, he was in there laughing. He was having a ball.
He was having a ball. And it's so unfair, I think, especially for young black children, that they do want to enjoy the simple things of childhood. But then they're surrounded by things that make them have to grow up mentally and emotionally fast. But they want a childhood. And I think that's the thing about Jake. He really, that's what makes Doodah feels like, maybe I can breathe now, right? He loved being with his brother, but his brother kept him scared.
Yeah.
And, you know what I'm saying?
All the time.
You know, your feelings all held hostage. You don't know if you're going to see a murder or whatever. And then you're being challenged with your own manhood constantly. Like Reg was always teaching him a little lesson, but challenge him a lot too.
Right.
Make sure he's tough. Yep.
Make sure he's tough. Because, of course, Reg's, I think, concept is if you're going to grow up on this side of town and representing what I represent, you can't be no punk, you know?
Yeah.
And that, unfortunately, is something our young brothers have to hear all the time. You can't be a punk, you can't be soft, you can't be this. And you just want to be a kid, you know?
Yeah.
So,
it's totally funny you said that, because me and my wife was talking about that the other day, and we were saying how young black kids have to grow up so early now. So we kind of got to watch what we say, you know, to our kids to go, like, toughen up or try and give them so much responsibility at such a young age when they really are just kids, you know?
You know, I thought about that in the scene where Kevin and I think it was in 4, and I'm hugging, I asked him about telling the young lady about his sister, and then I hug him, and I love that moment because I thought this is where a young man is defining himself as a man if he finds his sister, and it's just too much responsibility. You know what I mean? And we do that in our household, single family households where the mother's just in there. That's my little man. I hear my girlfriend say stuff like that. That's my little man. That's my little man. It's like, no, he's your little boy.
Little boy,
he needs to stay a boy until he becomes a man, because then they switch. They start talking to you like they're the man, or they don't like the man you bring in the house, and you like, you a child.
Right.
Yeah.
So we do need to be careful with them. We do.
Definitely.
So what do you like future plans? What are you looking to get into, acting wise and play, whatever you're gonna do?
Well, my own play, because like I said, I write, and so my own play, Relentless, which is about affluent Victorian Black folk.
Okay. Get fancy on them.
Yes, because it's an era that is understood or explored, and unfortunately, in the African American community, we go from slavery to civil rights to Obama, and it's as if we didn't exist no other time.
Nothing else happened.
Nothing happened. Nothing happened.
So my play Relentless is slated to go up. It was supposed to go up March this year, but of course COVID sent us all in house. So it's slated to come up the coming season. In fact, we're getting ready to roll out some projects around it just to keep people invested with the theater that is going to be at Timeline Theater Company. I will also be directing a great piece by he was a writer for Empire. His name is Joshua Allen. And it's called The Last Pair of Early. So I'll be directing that in Chicago at a theater on the north side called Raven Theater.
Nice.
Okay. And I'm, of course, looking forward to and hoping that, although I haven't had notice yet, I'm just going to put it in the universe, Chi Season 4.
Oh, right. Definitely.
and trying really right now, because we have such an awareness, to pitch my own pilot. So those
Yeah.
are my immediate things that I can
Gotcha.
talk about with confidence.
Okay.
I was going to ask you about that as well, as far as, you directing, writing, and just being behind the camera. I think it's good that people, especially females, especially, African American or minority women, can see that you don't have to always be in front of the screen. You can be
Yes.
behind the screen. So have you seen since you've been doing this, any changes in that dynamic? Because, we have Kerry Washington's EP and things now. Regina King been doing it for a while. The list goes on and on. I mean, the waves doing. People are doing it. Do you see it changing from how it was?
I definitely do see it changing. And first, let me agree with you that we don't always need to be in front of the camera. In fact, we need a lot more of us behind the cameras, not just behind the camera, but DPing, just part of the whole back process, the process that we don't see. There's never enough of us present. And if we're out there, then, shame on the industry. Like the rest of the industries, they haven't been hiring us. You know what I'm saying? But I have seen it, especially on the Chi. They have made a serious investment in hiring LGBTQ and women and women writers, women directors. So that's been very nice. And even in the other projects I worked on outside of the Chi, I saw more women directors, more women showrunners, and not always Black women, but it still was not. Women weren't there. But I want brown folk. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
They coming up, and we ain't in the same battle. I know that people say we are, but it's a different battle.
Different battle.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, that's a fact.
Exactly. So, I mean, I was watching did you guys see them talking to the creator of Friends, and they asked her, why didn't you have any Black people on Friends? And she was just like, oh, I didn't think about it, and I'll do better. It's like, that's not
That's
good.
why I never watched that show in my life, episode, because no way you live in New York and don't have one Black friend.
Exactly. And
that's popping up.
And what's bad about that is David Schwimmer, and they even admitted in this special, David Schwimmer always asked, could we bring someone Black in? Let me have a Black girlfriend. They eventually gave Maisha Tyler came on.
Dave.
Yeah, she came on. But this is what gets me. She had to come on as a doctor, right? So like this is always the case. Black folk got to come in like superheroes, right? We can't just be like them, kind of like mulling around New York doing a lot of nothing. We got to come in like doctors and shit, right? So David Schwimmer get the pick of the litter. Y'all feel me?
Like she couldn't be a teacher.
She could be a teacher. She could be, the person that tie the signs on the pole outside, say don't park here on Friday.
It's gonna be a dog walker.
Right. And that's always a problem to me. Like why we can't just, and I'm not saying we gotta be average, but I'm saying whenever you want to, whenever they want to present that they accept us, it's our pick of the litter people. As if you can be as common be, but I can't be that.
You always gotta be up here. Yeah.
Exactly. Anyway, we're not on that podcast. So I'm on
yeah. No, that's funny because the only time I saw somebody Black on there was Ken Griffey Jr. was a baseball player. When I flip through the channel, I'm like, oh, he's on there, whatever. But it's funny because Living Single, right? We all watched Living Single pretty much growing up. Everyone probably seen it, So it killed me when people didn't realize that was out before Friends, and pretty much they took that and made Friends. And I was always saying that, and people were like, "No, maybe it came out after." I said, "Nah, I think it came out before."
No, I didn't even peep that. It just came in and swooped all the ratings through.
It did, and it sure did. It was out first. It had the same setup.
Yep.
And it's as if it wasn't even a big deal. And just think, we had major names in that, right? Queen Latifah heading that.
Kim Fields.
Kim Fields,
Kim Coles.
These people came out for Friends. Who knew them? Nobody knew those people other than Aaron Spelling's daughter was Aaron Spelling's daughter, and he was the creator. So, Yeah,
they made their names off of that.
But on that I could think about
90210, so
90210. No, but I could think about only I could think is the networks, because I read something that the reason why Fox had because back in the day Fox had Martin, Fox had A Living Color, Fox had, Living Single. They were independent. So they were putting out things and didn't care. They were taking the chances. So once these major networks like I don't want to throw anybody in the bus, but your ABC, your CBSs, your NBCs, when they start taking it, NBC went and grabbed the whole concept and now we can put it on a higher platform and put it behind Seinfeld or whatever.
That's it.
And that's it. And it's going to take off. Wow.
Exactly. So, it's hopefully the awareness right now pulls some of that back, because it's a lot of people making an effort to bring awareness to it and say, no more. Yeah. And it's a lot of sisters producing now, like Issa Rae and Lena Waithe, and that's good. And let me tell you, Regina is an excellent director and actor. And I should say, I never mentioned her, but coming up, 227, I used to be like glued to the TV just to watch her. So good. You know what I'm saying?
Just to see her progression too, because you remember seeing 227, and all of a sudden she started went to movies, and I saw her on Poetic Justice and Boys in the Hood. I think Boys in the Hood.
Yeah, she was on Boys in the Hood.
Boys in the Hood. She was in Boys in the Hood.
Yeah. Boys in the Hood, Poetic Justice after that. And you start seeing the progression. And then I didn't see her for a while. And they said, oh no, she's behind the scenes. Like, you're not seeing her, but she's directing it and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. And then she's great.
Yeah, she really is. She's powerful. She is. Sometimes when people ask me who I admire, I'm like, oh God, I can't think of all of them at one time. But as I have always liked her work, and they were bringing a series here one day. Well, they were considering a pilot that I thought was going to be really good. And I was hoping I got in that, because she was the main character, and then it was based around her and some sisters, her sisters.
Okay.
I was like, let me be one of Regina's sisters. We gonna be on fire.
Yeah, I could dig that one.
I could see that too.
So but I really love her work.
Great. All right, so outside of your acting, what are you watching on TV? What music are you listening to?
Okay, so on TV, I love documentaries and foreign films and things like that. So I just watched the one on Michael Jordan, The Last Dance.
Fire.
That was so good.
Well, you're from Chicago, so we already know who your goat is. Michael Jordan. There we go. No question.
But I'm not a big sports person, so I was like, I'll see it. My friends was like, no, you like documentary, you're going to love this. So I watched it, and I was just like, oh, this is really good.
Well, it's bigger than basketball, because it's like a mindset. Like what he did, you could have that in acting, you could have that in the workplace, whatever.
I'm gonna tell you, you're right, because I heard Michael Jordan say years ago, this is when he was playing, part of what he did was creative visualization before he played any game. He saw himself winning it. And I was like, I'm gonna do that as an actor. And I kid you not, before every audition, and even when I coach, because I do coach some folks, and I do have a couple of mentees, I always make them, the scene you have in your hand, go ahead and sit down, close your eyes, relax, breathe, creative visualize that whole scene. Visualize yourself doing it, going into the audition room, greeting the people, saying the words, leaving, powerful, strong, you did it. Because he's right, you've completed it already. Now you're just letting your human body catch up to your spirit self. You know?
Okay.
So he is definitely was and is an amazing athlete. I mean, and you don't get to be that extraordinary and not be that kind of a, badass leader. I mean, he was a great leader.
Yeah, you got to have a screw looser too.
Yeah.
You know what I really love? That documentary showed something that's very important to me, which is not everybody works the same way, but they still have their own genius. Because for Phil Jackson to understand that Dennis Rodman just needed to do Dennis, but he was going to play and he was going to come home with it. I thought that was great. Or even when Dennis messed up, he knew he messed up, that he let these people down, and he was like, I'm going to be better the next time. That you can learn from that someone can.
Yeah, he was key.
Make this cookie cutter,
And that's life, because you can't. The same way you talk to one person, you can't talk to another person. The same way you motivate this one person, you can't. So that's basically how you move in life all the time. You got to treat people accordingly with respect. But certain people you got to push a little more or say something else to. You can't say the same thing for everybody. It won't work.
Yeah, somebody need a hug. Somebody need a foot in the butt.
Exactly. But it's so true. And but when someone is as unique as Rodman, instead of making them out like they're losers or failures or they just can't focus, or you just say, one of my favorite moments was when Michael Jordan said they called him into the office and said Dennis need a vacation. And he was like, that dude ain't coming back if you give him a vacation. They gave him his 2 days. And he came back and, did all those rebounds and they won the game. But it was like the dude Rodman knew his moment where he needed to regroup. Right. And they accepted that he got to go regroup and we just going to have to live with that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And
so
thank God we didn't have camera phones.
Oh, God.
He would have been in the club doing Lord knows what.
He would have been just... Oh God, he never would have apologized, so he would have just been a mess and 3/4. So.
Right. Exactly. How about the music part?
Yeah, musically.
I love old school stuff, so I listen to. But the stuff I listen to, y'all probably like, yeah, I stopped listening to that a long time ago.
But you got it. You never know.
I listen to a lot of blues and a lot of jazz. Okay. So somebody like Jimmy Smith is really important to me. I love him. I love all the old school R&B, right? Mm-hmm. I love Jimi Hendrix. I write to Miles Davis.
Wow.
And Coltrane. That was another wonderful documentary if you didn't see the one on Coltrane. Okay. So, yeah, I just listen to, my mother used to DJ and she'd line up all these old records, right? So, like, my favorite jazz singing female is Dinah Washington, right? Mm-hmm. And Nina Simone is my all-time favorite singer. Her and Prince were my favorite two ever.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And what I love about foreign films is they always use Nina Simone. You hear Nina Simone in almost every other foreign film, whereas we starting to play her a lot now, but they always play Nina.
I wonder why. That is.
Well, when she left, because her documentary is really good too.
Okay, let's check that out.
It's What Happened, Nina. It's so good. It's on Netflix, but then isn't everything. Let me say this before I go on about Nina. You know what was a good one that I didn't expect to like, which was about Iceberg Slim, the pimp.
Okay, the pimp.
Yeah.
I was like, I did have issues with some of the
language,
the famous rap artists and stuff, and how they held it in esteem. But he even talked about it shouldn't be praised that he was a pimp. Mm-hmm. He didn't think when he left it. He didn't think it was something to think of as great. Yeah. Anyway, watch that one. It's really good. So the thing about Nina and why she's liked so much overseas is because when she left America and went over there and was treated, as many of our artists are, like royalty.
Always.
You know what I'm saying? And she was an activist here. She fought for a lot of she stood up for a lot of injustice, and she could not be, they respected her, they didn't respect her. And then she go there and they just love her. So in their world, like many of our artists, they hold them in a different level of esteem than we do now, but we didn't then. I ain't talking about black folks, I'm talking about white folks. White folks now, you go to a concert, a jazz concert,
yep.
It's all white folks in there.
Yeah, you know the vibes.
Black people. And I'm one of them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and if you look at all the guys, they all, all the major bands studied our jazz musicians. They love them, right? So yeah, so Nina is my favorite, and Prince, and right now, who do I actually been listening to Luke James only because he's in the obviously, I didn't know who Luke was, and everybody.
Yeah.
I had friends going, Luke gonna be on the shot, and I'm like, who is Luke? I don't know who y'all talking about. And so I started looking up his music. I was like, oh, he got that. He's got that good Marvin Gaye, Teddy.
Yeah, he's got a nice vibe.
Got nice vibes on him. Yeah.
Nice vibe. So. And I love Cardi B. That's the third person I listen to. Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. Is that
Megan
it?
Thee Stallion. Yep.
Megan Thee Stallion. So that's your That's your ratchet side right there.
That's my wretched side. My sister got on me the other day because we were joking and talking about dating, and she was like, "Listen, I can't be dating nobody that's listening to all that old shit if he ain't got no trap music playing." And I was like, "I said, really?" She was like, "Listen, I gotta have me some trap music," and I thought it was because she's my older sister.
Yeah.
So I was like, "I can't believe
Like, what?
I
Hey.
said, you wouldn't want to hear no Isley Brothers. She was like, they ain't even brothers no more. It's only one of them. I don't want to hear that.
She ain't lying about that. So I always, how about what's your quarantine snack that you eat?
My quarantine snack.
We all got one.
That one go-to. That one go-to.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what my go-to is right now are cheese puffs.
Wait, what kind? You got the
what kind?
You got the Wise or the Cheetos?
Why the Cheetos? A
The
Bonton.
Cheetos.
Yes.
Cheese puff.
Yeah, don't call me for the Wise.
I know. I didn't even think about those things, and then I had a friend over after we got to sort out of quarantine, and we sat because I sit on the deck and have some drinks, right? And she said, "Oh, that's all I eat are Cheetos," and she brought a big bag. And I'm like, I'm hooked on buying the damn
you gotta take it and wipe your hand on your shirt.
You know what I'm saying?
Licking your fingers.
They keep having them 2 for $7 at Walgreens. It's like,
you gotta do it.
Stop?
Yeah.
That is a go-to snack for me. And my wine, I like my wine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want how do you feel about what's going on as far as like with the social injustice and the marches and things like that? How do you feel about that?
I feel outraged, really. Once I saw that first moment with George Floyd, we were already overwhelmed with Aubrey. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then that just brought to the head what it did to everybody, what we're all experiencing. But for Black folks, I think, you know how we've been saying things are going on and people treat us like, who is the man? And who are they? And what are you talking about? And then you're like, God damn it, this is it. This is enough. You know what I'm saying? And when Amy Cooper did her thing, when she did that on the brother, I just couldn't take it. I was just like, because what I feel is that Amy Coopers have been doing that to us for years, knowing the power of their whiteness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And police officers have felt like Chauvin felt leaned on George Floyd's neck, which is indifference to us. Okay. And so I am, and white folks have been willing to shoot us down in the street and then say it's self-defense, like the McMichaels, forever. And so I am outraged constantly. It depressed me for a long time. I was grateful for the movement. I was scared with the pandemic because I thought, well, they can't be going out in the street. They're gonna get, they're gonna get the virus. But I watched the documentary on I'm Not Your Negro with James Baldwin. And I found something he said really profound. Actually, him and Al Sharpton.
My man, Al.
I know, it's
got no Al in there.
Yeah. The thing is, and this is like we were just talking about Rodman and Jordan, you can find brilliance in a lot of places. Do you know what I mean? You don't shut people out just because. So what Baldwin said, and he's one of my favorite writers, was that when he was over in Paris, at one point, he looked up at the news on the television and he saw the protests and everything going on in the civil rights movement, and he realized that it was time to pay his due, right? You can't just sit and observe from over here all the time. You've got to get involved. And he said that day I had to come back to America. And he met up, him and Lorraine Hansberry, and he was in the midst of it. He was scared. He admitted it, but he said you need to pay that due, right? The other thing was when Al Sharpton said something one day on Instagram, if you're not out here doing nothing and you're not making an effort to help and you just trying to tell people who doing it, how to do it, shut up. And I was like, okay, I cannot sit at home scared of the virus and have my views on what other people are doing. I need to do something and I need to get out and be a part of it. And so that sent me out into my first protest. So, And I was afraid. I was afraid not because I thought harm would come of me, but because of the pandemic.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I guess the rest of your answer is I feel like I'm really proud of what the young people are doing. I am afraid right now. Afraid is the wrong word, but concerned for those people in where they're still rioting in Portland. I don't want the movement to get lost because some of those people out there aren't even about the cause. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
They're just tearing up shit. They just want to keep. I mean, Portland is 95% white. I did a play there. It was 2% black when I was there, and they were African, right? So like, what y'all up here doing?
Right.
So that to me concerns me because it seems like a distractor from the cause.
Mm-hmm.
But I am really proud of what the young people are being courageous enough to do, and that people are saying they're making an effort, and I'm all for everybody. I got my t-shirts made saying, don't ask me about no damn systemic racism. I'm not your shortcut to understanding what you've been doing, because you know what you've been doing, Amy Cooper and McMichael. Stop playing. So I'm all for that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And no, the thing I was going to say is that Derrick and I, we had an episode a few weeks back about social injustice, and we were talking about it, and we basically came to the conclusion that we mostly felt that that what's going to happen is that now the young kids now, I mean, even younger than Derrick and I, younger than you, they're seeing this stuff, right? Yeah. And the pandemic allowed people to sit and watch. You know, there's no sports on, you can't go nowhere. All you had was CNN or whatever news you watch, right? And once they saw that, whether it's white, Hispanic, black, they're starting to come together now and starting to see that. You know, especially the I would say the younger white generation. They're seeing like, this is what's happening, and I've been lied to for all these years about certain things because people don't want to talk about race. So some of these kids grow up not really knowing how privileged that they really truly are. That we can go out, but my friend John can go out, but Malik can't. If Malik gets stopped by the cops, this is what happens to your friend Malik. And some kids might go, well, why is my friend being treated differently? They don't really understand it.
They have to deal with it.
They don't have to deal with it. But also, it's like it's not being naive to it. You know, it's not affecting them. They don't understand it. Now they're seeing it. And I think that's going to help everything change hopefully for the better, that they're getting involved now.
Right. I do think that I agree with you because just like with the gay and lesbian things like that, I remember a time when people would recoil, and there's still those people who do. But now to say to somebody, I got two fathers, nobody cares. You know what I'm saying? It's no big deal to them. So where it might have been a big deal when we were growing up, or my sisters or whatever, and somebody says they got, their parents are gay, then it's whispered. Now it's like not a big deal, and I think that's the kind of thing that happens. So that even white young people will be able to say, "You're being racist to my friend," and they would know what they mean when they say that.
Right.
You won't be able to excuse it with "I'm not a racist." They'll be able to point out, "Yes, you are," because blah. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I don't give their parents as much leeway.
No.
I feel like that was chosen ignorance, and Black people don't have the luxury of that. There might be people who do it, but the majority of us, we can't choose to be ignorant to what racism is and how it comes at us, and to be prepared to acknowledge one and throw another one away, right? So we're navigating every day. Which one am I going to actually respond to, and how many am I just going to be like whatever?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that they have, again, Amy Cooper made such a footprint in my brain because she said out loud what I know when I worked in corporate America, when I went to high school that was predominantly white, when I went on auditions. She said what many have felt.
Or thought.
And so I don't give them as much leeway. I feel like even my associates who've asked me about, racism, I just send their ass a Google link. Don't ask me about it no more. You can Google search it. It's all in there. You can
do your research.
Do your research. You don't have to find out it. Look at how racism was built into this country's fabric. You can you don't have to guess. You just look it up. It's everywhere. So I think the young people always make the difference, right? Like we got Obama in office because social media was like, okay, young people knew how to navigate social media.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Change always happens because of the younger generation.
Right. Definitely.
So that's, I think, hopefully that's where we are, and we just have to support it. We got some fools out there, but you know, everybody can't be right. You know,
that's everywhere, right?
Everywhere,
that's everywhere.
Every group, every race, we have our few.
But they're the smaller number. They're always the smaller number. You know what I'm saying? They're the smaller number. Is the criminal is the smaller number. The person that's going to take advantage is the smaller number. All of those things are smaller than those of us who are actually contributing, caring, and actively involved. You know?
Right. Yeah. All right. So we end our show on a little bit of a lighter note.
Okay.
We have a section that we call rapid fire. It's basically a this or that, and we'll give you a couple of seconds to answer, and we keep it fun.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. If one had to go, which one are you keeping, theater or film? You can only keep one.
A film.
Film is
okay.
You keeping film?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, film, of course. I know why. I think
that bag.
A little different. Okay. Acting or directing?
Acting.
Okay. Acting. Okay. What's your favorite scene on The Chi?
I'm trying to make sure I'm not giving anything away. When I got Keisha back in the
hospital scene.
Yeah, that was a powerful scene.
That was great scene. Okay. Favorite jazz instrument? Saxophone or trumpet? Or neither?
Trumpet.
Okay. Trumpet. All right, I got a Prince question for you.
Okay.
Better song, When Doves Cry or Adore?
Oh, wow.
When Doves Cry.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Adore is that work, but all right.
First of all, that is a tough question, right?
All right, okay.
That's hard.
Yes.
Purple Rain, the movie.
But When Doves Cry, I mean, you know, and Prince inspired me as a writer because I loved how he said things. So he said them so poetically, but he would make it like, I always use the example of If I Was Your Girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Like to write that and make it about himself as a man, but saying to a woman, if I was your girlfriend, would you do these things with me? I thought, I just love that. I love the reverse of how you're making me think about something people don't do. They don't generally do. And so that's how I felt about When Doves Cry. Like the thing that we don't really hear when doves cry, but the idea of it, the beauty of something we think of as so beautiful. It represents love, right? It's precious. And when love cries, I just think it's
it must be bad.
Metaphorically beautiful.
Okay. And plus, I think Prince is the only person ever to have a #1 movie and #1 album.
Purple
At
Rain.
the same time, Purple Rain. I grew up on the album and the movie. My mom played it when I was a kid on a little 8-track. What's the little seat? I don't remember what it is. A little small.
It's 8-track. Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's 8-track, but yeah.
I thought that the 8-track was the one you put in.
8-track you put in.
Yeah, it was like a thick type of.
Yes, that's it. It was real thick. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But this was a record though. It was a small record.
Oh, the 45s?
45.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. I was like 8-track. You ain't growing no damn 8-track.
That's what I was saying. I was like, 8-track, 45. 45.
What you mean 8-track? But that was my mama's stuff. Okay, go ahead.
All right. My last question. So, who is your favorite actor or actress? I know it's a lot of them. Favorite though.
My favorite that I would go to the movies to see no matter what. That's tough because it's really two. Do I just get one?
Just one.
My favorite is Meryl Streep.
Okay.
Did you watch Big Little Lies?
I did, and she was the best thing in it. And I
killed
like
it,
all of
season
them
two.
women.
She killed it. He didn't see it yet, and I've been telling him about it. Meryl Streep was a monster in season 2.
And so, like,
Oh my
innocently a
goodness.
monster.
Yeah,
she
like
was a beast.
her whole
Yes, I gotta
demeanor, I
watch
was
it.
just like, this lady is like out of her mind, but she doesn't even care.
Let me tell you what I love about her, besides her acting, is you never sit watching Meryl Streep.
Mm-hmm.
You watch the character she's portraying, right? Like when she was in Big Little Lies, you weren't thinking about Meryl Streep from something else. You were like, and for a minute, I was just like, is that Meryl Streep? You know what I'm saying? Because she's just so good.
And everybody's good on that show, and she dominated that season.
And she dominated.
And she was subtle the whole time.
Subtle, underplayed, but absolutely phenomenal. And
wow.
I have always admired everything she's done. She can take an accent and own it like nobody's business. She can be a bitch like The Devil Wears Prada with comedy or something. If you go back to her pieces that she did with Jack Nicholson when she was, I don't know if you ever saw the movie, I can't think of the name of it, I'm terrible with titles, but she's a woman, she's in love with Jack Nicholson. He's a asshole cheater guy, but she's married to him and she's pregnant and
oh man. I know what it is.
You know what I'm talking about?
Her range is crazy.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but I know what you're talking about.
She was so damn good. I mean, I just love her across the board, and I've been watching her since I was a young girl. So she's literally my favorite actress of all times. But of course, I love me some Viola Davis. She just gives me power. I'm gonna just throw that in there because I gave you the answer, but you got to know that.
Well, it's a 1A, 1B, no problem.
Well, Viola gives me a power that, as a Black woman, I love. In her vulnerability, she has power. Her willingness to take off that wig and be not pretty on camera. A lot of people
she broke it down several times on How to Get Away with Murder. Took that wig off, took the lashes off.
The thing about actors can't stand not to be pretty. They want a little bit of something.
Right.
Yep.
And even this season on The Shot, I'm crying all the time. I have no makeup on. But I don't like makeup, so I don't really care. I throw on a little liner and a little mascara just like I am right now. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I ain't cute all the time. I have to apologize sometimes.
I hear that.
So I'm okay with that. But a lot of people are not. They depend on that makeup to fix that flaw,
Right.
Okay.
And for her to be willing, not just to do that, but to be emotionally vulnerable and raw, I live for those kind of actors. I learned from that,
Definitely. I know we're about to get out here. I have one quick question for you in regards to that. Because your role, especially this season, is so emotional and so taxing emotionally. How do you come out of that? Once you're in it, how do you get out of that and go back to just being normal, just being yourself?
I remember one time, I forget which episode it was. I think it was the one, I think it was when after I realized that I've come home and I realized that the body wasn't Keisha, and Kevin comes in and I'm just crying. That was an all-day emotional scene, right? And Jet, who was the director, after just doing it several times, was like, "Do you have one more?" And I think that was one of the days that I was exhausted. And what I do, even just in my own life, if I get exhausted, if I get too overwhelmed, I have to go to sleep. I go home. I go straight to bed. Somehow, I don't know, I think I'm going to get the answer or something in my dreams or whatever. And just to check out and watch what I call, mindless TV. Watch some silly ass comedy, some, what do you call that stuff? Reality TV.
Marriage boot camp. Marriage boot camp.
Marriage boot camp. You just, because you don't care. When you're done, you're done. You don't even talk about that shit later. It allows you to check out and not care.
Yeah, you don't have to pay attention.
If I watch a documentary, I'm gonna be up and mad again.
Right.
If I play, sometimes you can play music and relax, but if it's too good, I'm up and moving. You know what I'm saying? So just being able to check out like that and just give myself permission to let it go, because one time we finished and people were like, "Is she okay?" And it's like, "Yeah, I'm okay. I just need to." You can't just walk away from your emotional moment,
Right.
Definitely.
and one time I posted on my page, I took a picture with Candy Burris, who's my favorite housewife.
Mm-hmm.
And I was coming back and she said, "Are you okay? You know, I can't give you that. You okay?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Nope, but I'm gonna take this picture with my favorite housewife." It was like her first day on set. And so I still have tears in my eyes while I'm taking this picture. So I just give myself permission to take my time. And
Right.
but I won't let that be a whole day or overnight. You know what I'm saying? Just let it happen naturally. When you get home, if I'm still holding on to it, I might to have a cocktail and just lay down, watch some mindless TV, check out, and just get rejuvenated. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Everybody take heed to that. Listen to what she stated.
Yeah, Tyler will definitely.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think just period in life, one, you have to give yourself permission to have a pity party. I know people are like, don't have a pity party. No, I think you have to give yourself permission to have a pity party or to be where you are. Like they say in yoga, be where you are, not where I am, be where you are.
Right.
And then come up out of it. But if you never give yourself the opportunity, right, you're covering it up and it just becomes anger on somebody. Eventually you're going to get at to somebody. Your children,
you got to take it in and accept it.
Yeah. So it's important to take time for yourself.
Definitely.
You know?
Well, Tyler, definitely a pleasure. Thank you for your time. We're looking forward to seeing how the show ends. You want to shout out your social media, website, or anything you got going on?
Oh, you know what? This is so funny because I just learned how to do this. Somebody asked me this last week, and I was sitting there looking at them. They were like, "You gonna say it?" And I was like, "Say what?" It's like your handle or whatever. I was like, "Oh, okay." Tyler, do you say the gram at the end? Tyla Abercrumbie
on Instagram.
Oh, it's Tyla Abercrumbie on Instagram or on Facebook. I'm under an alias, which is Shelby Cross, which I write under sometimes, and. So you can find me on Instagram as Tyla Abercrumbie, and on Facebook is Shelby Cross, the name Shelby and the word cross.
Right.
Okay.
And on Twitter as Tyla Abercrumbie also. So
definitely a pleasure having you. Thank you everybody that's listening. You can catch us on Instagram at The Great Minds Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, wherever you can listen to. Podcast and on Twitter at The Great Minds P1. Thank you for listening. Thank you again, Tyler. We really appreciate having you on.
It was a great time, guys. I loved it. Honestly, it was really great.
Glad you enjoyed yourself.
Too.
Yes, us too.
Have a good one, guys.